The images of 9/11 will forever be seared into our minds. So should the countless stories of courage and bravery from that day.
I can't believe people actually fall to that.
Marine Corps Major Tom Armas is one such story, a story nearly lost in the rubble.
I don't mind talking about it, but again, the focus is not me.
Armas might never have talked about his heroics on 9/11 were it not for this picture. That's Armas, then a Secret Service agent, carrying a woman out of the North Tower minutes before it collapsed.
I did know there was a photographer on the street, but I didn't know. I just faintly remember seeing a guy snapping pictures as I was running across, because I was extremely tired.
But the photographer's camera somehow got lost and buried beneath the debris. It wouldn't be found for months. The picture first appearing in the paper on New Year's Day 2002, except the caption misidentified Armas as an unnamed firefighter, which was fine with Armas.
What I did was nothing, obviously, compared to those guys.
But Armas's fellow Secret Service agents thought otherwise. The picture had captured him rescuing one woman, but he'd actually saved many others.
I see it as I would do anything, I did what anybody would do.
Armas, who worked in World Trade Center 7, was in the building's gym when the first plane hit. When he got outside, he knew he had to do something.
Size and scope of that hole, you knew something was wrong beyond anything that could possibly ever been imagined. It was like, where do I need to go? What do I need to do?
He and a couple of other agents ran into the North Tower.
Because our first focus was, okay, well, we have this medical train, let's find anybody who's injured and get them out. We got into the 40s, somewhere right around there, and you could tell that the situation changed at that point. It became hotter, and there was smoke now in the stairwell. We got up to a certain point where we decided, you know what, we haven't seen anybody other than very random emergency personnel moving up the stairwell. We didn't see any other civilians there. So we began to clear the stairwell back down.
For a minute, he stopped in an empty office.
I picked up the phone to call my wife to kind of tell her, hey, have you turned on the news yet? Have you seen what's going on here? And I did, and when I called, she just started screaming on the phone, you know, get out of that building. We wound up getting a little bit of an argument because I told her I wasn't going to leave, and I'd leave when it was over. I'd see her when I was done that evening. And then all hell broke loose.
The second plane had already hit.
When we got down to the mezzanine level, it was probably one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in my life. When you looked onto the plaza level is where the park was and where the globe was. And that was a pretty bad scene as you looked off into that. There were, a lot was on fire. There were bodies strewn on the ground, some unrecognizable, some recognizable. There was an injured man on West Street. I was dragging him across. There was a fireman off to my left. As I was dragging that person off, the fireman off to my left-hand side was hit by one of the jumpers.
Then the unimaginable. The South Tower collapsed.
You saw like trickling of more debris and more debris and more debris, and then a wave. It was so deafening, I probably I can't recreate it. You were running in place and you didn't know which way to go. There was really nowhere to go. You looked left, debris was everywhere. You looked right, and it was all pretty much probably in milliseconds, but as your brain starts to process it, it slowed down. You didn't know which way to run, so we ran into the northwest corner of the mezzanine area and just dove into the corner. I have no idea what it looked like around me. All I know is that the police officer was dead, and the other man that was in the corner with us was dead, and John and I were alive.
It was pitch black, rubble and shattered glass everywhere.
I went back in, and somehow he got pulled away from me, and I went in and moved around and grabbed a bunch of people who I could find, and then they grabbed onto my belt. And then I started to crawl towards where I knew the railing was, and then when I came out, there was a lady to my left. Kind of people were bypassing her. I really have no recollection of how. I just picked her up and took her across the street to an ambulance, put her in an ambulance.
Minutes later, the North Tower would collapse. Several people escaped alive thanks to Tom Armas. When the picture went public, Tom's story did too. President Bush honored him at the White House, and the Marine Corps awarded him with the Navy Marine Corps Medal, the highest medal for heroism in civilian action.
I'm not a hero at all. I did what any Marine would do. I did what was expected of me by my family.
Armas comes from a long line of patriots. He has surpassed them all. As a Marine reservist, he fought in Iraq twice before and recently resigned from the Secret Service to go again.
I don't ever want this to happen again on my watch, and I don't want my children to ever have to deal with this again. It's a constant reminder every day.
Major Tom Armas carries with him this cross carved out of the steel from the World Trade Center. Ever since 9/11, he's been on a mission. He's not finished yet.
All right, we ready to go?